We are back on the 1999 Sebring 2.5 V6 LXI. We are going to attempt to try to get some new valve pan cover gaskets on it. The front one here, well, pretty self-explanatory. It's just right there, not a whole lot to do to get that off. But the one in the back, of course, we have to take this plenum off, and that's what we're doing right now. So to jump into the video right off the bat, I did pick up a couple of gaskets and some gaskets that goes with those plugs right here, and they're actually sitting right here. I think I got these online for like $12 or something. They were really cheap. And here are the gaskets. I kind of let them hang there a little bit so they could stretch out from shipping. But what I've done so far, just some minor stuff here. I've got some wires hooked up. Now in my garage, it's really cold outside tonight. It's probably 12 degrees or so. Inside it's about 45 or 50. It hasn't had a chance to really warm up with my little heater, but you gotta be careful with a lot of stuff because when it's cold, these old cars, it's brittle, things will break. So, you know, take a little extra time when you're unhooking things. Don't get in a hurry. Don't start forcing things. Just kind of look at it and figure out how it comes apart, like these wires here with these clips on. You can see how stiff this wire is. So this stuff, when it's cold, it doesn't like to flex a whole lot. So on this side, we've got some sensors unhooked there. We've got a couple there unhooked. And on this side, we got the air cleaner out. It's sitting off to the side, right over there. So that's out of the way. And we have some hoses here unhooked. These things, I don't think they've been off in quite a while. I've got this unhooked. We've got this wire unhooked. There's a vacuum line down there. Vacuum line here and a vacuum line here, and that's what we're doing right now. We're just kind of looking at things here and see what has to come apart. Now I got something here that I saw that kind of concerned me. Right down here there's a hose. I believe this is a fuel line. I hope it is, because I don't want to have to drain any water out of this, the antifreeze or anything. I shouldn't have to, but I think this is just a fuel line. I'll unhook that with two little 10mm bolts. And we'll go back here and see what we can get into. We've got some more hoses and stuff. Then, after we get just about everything unhooked, then we can start taking some of these bolts here off on the plenum. Looks like there's 2, 4, 6, 7 as right now. And let's see, that's about it. So as we kind of work our way here, I'll come back here and we'll shoot some more video. Kind of give you an idea of what we got to do. The leak is pretty bad. I showed you in the last video. We're leaking in the back valve pan cover. At least I think it is. I mean, the front of it's pretty oily, so it's leaking pretty bad back there. So I'm sure no one's ever changed it. Obviously, because you know you got to take the plenum off. So kind of an involved job. So we'll just work our way along here and see what we can get done. The car's only, this engine has only got 130,000 miles, original miles. So the car's in great shape. And hopefully we'll get some more years out of it. Try not to get it on the camera. I did take this whole unit off here. It's just one 10mm bolt, because if you take this out and get it out of the way, you can actually get to the most important thing here is, which is those two bolts there, and there are two right there on the EGR. So look at the camera. They're just right about my finger is right here. There's a bolt there and there. And this will unbolt this EGR here from the back of this plenum. And you got one more little bolt that everybody forgets about. And it's actually right here. It's just a bracket bolt. Right there. My finger is right there. Once you get that off, I believe we are pretty much home free. We can start taking these other bolts here off and lift this out of here. Now there is a ground strap. Of course that goes there. Actually, that bracket is right here, part of the throttle cable. It's actually set up like that. That's how I got that out of the way. Then once I got that out of the way, I was able to get in here and get this one little nut off that holds this down on this EGR. Right here is a nut for that. And it actually bolts on. Kind of like that. Just kind of sits down behind there like this. And you got your three little tubes. So I'm hoping I'll find my P0455 gross leak code. I'm hoping somebody was in here and replaced this alternator and left something unhooked. But I do have an emissions code. It says there's something terribly wrong. It's wide open. I don't think it's the gas cap, but anyway, I'll go ahead and get these two bolts are off. I'll use a ratchet wrench on them. They look pretty clean. It doesn't look too corroded. So hopefully these will come off. So let me see what we can get done. All right, moving right along here. By the way, I've got this pipe. I keep flipping back and forth because that little hood thing, you can't take it out. It's in a way. So I flip this back and forth. So depends on where I'm working. This makes it a little bit easier to move it around a lot faster. So it's not in the way. I did tell you something wrong. That you didn't have to do, and I didn't realize it, but I did take out one of the bolts on this EGR piece back here. You don't even have to bother with this. I left one in it. I thought there was a pipe connected in there under here, but there is no pipe under there, which is great, and I think you can see it fairly well there. If the light, that round guy right there, don't even have to worry about taking that off, but you still have to unhook the vacuum lines. Now on this side, I did get one of the bolts out for the EGR tube here. Now this you do have to take out. I got one out and I got one off on this side. These are 13 millimeter. There's probably going to be a little gasket behind there, so you might want to kind of watch that. I don't think I can see this as I'm pulling this out to see if there's a gasket behind there, but I'm on my last one here. And I think all we have to do is take out some plenum bolts and we're good. And let me pull this back a little bit and see. No, well, it looks like there's a gasket back there, but I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll deal with this a little bit later. So that's loose, and all we got to do now is kind of double check things back here. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot, see? There's the other bolt we got to take out, which is right there. My finger is, that little bracket. And I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get that out. So here comes our little bracket bolt. We got that out of the way, and now it looks like everything in the back here is unhooked. So far it hasn't been too bad. And now we'll go ahead and take off these plenum bolts here and see if this thing will move around a little bit. All right, our last bolt on the plenum. All right, so there's that one, and there's all the bolts. Tap it with my hand. See if it'll kind of come out of there. There's going to be something else here holding me up. This is just too easy. Let's see. It should be able to... All right, it's moving, but something's catching it. All right, so we got to go back in the back here and feel around. So we got that bracket bolt there in the back. Let's see. Oh, I see it. There's one more right here in the back. Way back here near this throttle cable linkage. There's a bracket that comes up and there's a bolt there too. Just like this one over here. So let's get that one out of the way. Alright, so there is that one. Alright, so is that all of them? Alright, let's pull up on this and see if it moves anymore. Are you kidding me? There's still something else. Alright, well, let me get back in there and with my mirror and see what else I'm missing. Alright, so do you see what I see? Yeah, right there is our other bolt that we had right in the middle of that plenum. So there's actually 3 bolts on that back of that plenum that holds it in place. So let's go ahead and get that booger out. Alright, it's moving. We got it loose. Alright, just about out. It's in there pretty good. Get this out. Hopefully this is our last one. We can pull this plenum straight off. I'm going to try to be really careful and not break the gasket that is on here, because I'm trying to save some money, of course. Alright, so there's that one. Alright, I'm going to set the camera up here. We'll see if we can get this off. Alright, let me get back on this side and let's grab it here straight up. Looks like everything's out of the way. I mean, everything I can find. Move our light out of the way a little bit here. Alright, here goes nothing. Okay, it's loose, alright. This is too easy. Just come straight up, that's all I want. I don't believe it. I did it on the first take. Yes! Alright. We got it. Alright, let's look at it here. So there's underneath of it, and some gaskets in excellent shape. So like I said, the car, this engine's only got 130 some thousand miles on it. All right, this is good. We got this off on the back here. I'll just show you real quick where those bracket bolts are at. One there. Of course, the EGR is leaking a little bit, looks like. And one there. And you know what fell off is, let's see, something fell off. One of these gaskets must have fell off because I heard it. So it must have been this one. This is the thing here you don't have to take off. But you know, if you want to take it off, go for it. But there is a gasket behind it there. See it? Right there. So I'm just going to kind of tighten that bolt back up with my fingers. But other than that, it's off. And so the one bolt is there, one is right there, the other one is right there behind the throttle body, the throttle cable I should say, on the throttle body. Alright, let's look at the top of this engine here and check this valve cover out. Alright everyone, so we found our leak and it's definitely behind here, behind this valve cover. I took my mirror and looked, but I want to see if I could drop my little camera down in here. Alright, so there's the back of the valve pan. I think you can see that there, but look at that oil running down over the alternator and then the back of the engine. So that's definitely where it's leaking. So I'm happy about that. At least I didn't have to tear this apart for nothing. So I guess we'll go ahead and get these valve pan covers off. And remember when I said, oh, I heard something fall on the floor? Well, here's what fell on the floor. That goes on the back of that guy right here. So it's kind of I'm glad I found that. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get these valve covers on now. The fun begins. Alright, let's go ahead and get this valve cover off. These guys here, I bent these up. Got this wiring harness here that kind of snakes right through here. These are the fuel injectors. Just kind of pop them out of the way. We'll get this one off here. Get here real close because I often have to go back and reference my videos when I take stuff apart when I put it back together, because sometimes, you know, these things can get a little confusing. So there's that, and now this should just lift up. This whole piece here, I can just kind of move it out of the way, which is just nice. That is just great. Alright, so we'll get the plug wires pulled off here, get these out, and move a few things over here out of the way. Alright, so I got back here on the back side of this valve cover, and you can see right there, this is on the driver's side. There's a bolt here. There's a 12mm bolt that you have to take off because it's bolted into the cover. And that bolt actually is part of this fuel line. It's just a bracket. You can see that right there. Before you do that, there's a little tiny bolt here with a little, looks like a noise suppressor. Just kind of loosen that up. Move this off to the side because your wrench might actually break this. So at least it ain't going nowhere. And now that is loose. And that is disconnected from the back of that valve cover. And now we got that bracket here where a finger is. Take your pliers and pull that off, just a vent hose. And I think we're down almost to the nitty gritty there. Of course, I've got to kind of bend over here so I can grab this here real quick. Hoping that comes off pretty easy. Because I have not broken anything on this car tonight, which is a little unusual. This is sometimes how you pop these off. Just get in behind them and pull on them, push out on them. Well, it's going slowly. Alright, it'll probably come off a lot easier once I get the valve cover off anyway. I'll work it then. Are you kidding me? I've never had plugs this wires come off that hard. Those things, I don't know, they must have been in there with super glue, but wow. Alright, so put these out of the way. Don't worry about numbering them because they're pretty much, you can't put them in backwards. So there we go. That's out of the way. Now over here, I just realized before I got in too big of a hurry and before we start taking bolts out of the valve pan, there are two bolts. One right there and one right here, this little cover. It's right there. Okay, get that off. Once we take that off, then when we unbolt this valve pan cover, it should come straight up. That cover will catch on that, so you don't want to break that. That's the cover for your timing gears. Timing belt, I should say. All right, wow, those plug wires gave me a workout. All right, so go ahead and get that cover off. All right, there's our last one. Little 10mm bolts, put them off to the side. This cover should come right off. Of course, it'll probably make a liar out of me here. And of course, there's something else catching it. I'd probably use both hands. Alright guys, I'm in an awkward position here. My hand down there as far as I can get it because there was one hidden bolt in that cover and I didn't want to break it. And I thought I was going to be defeated, but no, I got it. It's a long bolt. 12 millimeter bolt that you have to take out, get out of that cover. And now, looks like we should be able to get this cover off. There we go. It fought me, but I fought back. And you can see it goes right there on the back side of that. These up here are smaller. So just for video purposes and references, I'll say that so I can go back and look at the video if I have to, or you have to. And now we can take that cover off, finally. Alright, we're on our last 10 millimeter bolt in this pan. Once we get this out, then we go ahead and pry this off. I'll tell you what, if these bolts were really loose, they probably loosened up over time. You know, I probably could have just tightened them down and probably would stop the leak. But hey, if I'm going to go through all this trouble, well, I might as well put new gaskets on it. Alright, let's see if we can kind of get this under here. Pry this off a little bit. Not sure what we're going to grab here, but kind of hit it there a little bit somewhere. Down there, for there we go. All right, popped right off. Make sure we don't lose anything else here. Pull this back, and here comes the money shot. Everything you guys have been wanting to see. Something just fell off front, and there it is. Yeah, that gasket's shot. Look how hard that is. Oh wow, the concrete. So I'm glad we got this off. This is wonderful. Let me see what fell out. Oh, here's what fell out. Just one of these valve cover gaskets. They get around the plugs. So, all right. So that is great. And let's look at the back of the engine real quick with this off. All right. So here's the back of it, and you can see where the oil has been running down the manifold out in the back of this thing. You can see where we got to take that cover off that I was telling you about. It's actually part of this pan. With the bolts right there in it. It's kind of weird. I almost thought I didn't have to take it off, but it's all made together. So that's the back of the engine, and there's the alternator, and I'm still not quite sure how you would put an alternator in here. I mean, if you unhook that tube right there, then you can slide that alternator in there. That's probably what they did, but boy, what do people do that have these things that are broken and twisted off? It just seems like it's opening up a can of worms. Then again, maybe you can throw it on through the bottom somehow, but man, it would be tight. But I'm glad someone did that before me. It's got a new alternator on. But anyway, we got the pan off, and we'll go ahead and start putting it back together. So I didn't break anything, and I took my time. Took a lot of videos, so I can go back and look at the notes and all that. And should reassemble it fairly easy. There's that one. And these things are hard as a rock. Wow. And surprisingly, let's see what it looks like down there. Some oil. Actually, pretty dry. It's not too bad at all. That one's got a little oil in it, but nice clean engine. Well, you don't see it much cleaner than this for 100,000 miles. All right, so go ahead and clean things up, start putting everything back together. Hey, let me know where you're watching from right now. All right, there's our new valve pan cover gasket. It's on, and let me tell you what, this was a pain. It took me a half hour to get that old gasket off, and here's what's left of it. I had to take a propane torch, heat it up. This is like a rock. I don't know. Look at this. This is some of the hardest stuff I've ever had to take. I had to take a hammer, a small chisel. Once I heated this up, then I was able to pull it out little pieces at a time, but I had to be careful, make sure I got all the smaller pieces out that were still in the valve pan cover here, and you can see I got it fairly clean all the way around. And now we can put this in. I'm afraid the front one's going to be the same way. I'm going to have to take my time, but just so you know, this gasket wasn't any fun to take out. And it does go on one way. If you look closely, you'll see a slight bead on the top of this. There's that little line that goes down onto the surface head so it's nice and snug and fit and it doesn't leak. So we're going to put this together. And two quick things. I don't think you actually have to take this cover off. I think you can still get this valve cover out. It should just lift up out of the way, which is great. And the other thing is, I don't think you even have to worry about taking off this fuel line here that I showed earlier with these two bolts. I thought that might be a problem, but nope, don't even have to take that off. So having said that, we'll go ahead and start putting this back together. And we've got our new covers here on for that. And other than that, we're good to go. And I think I found my P0455 code on the back of this manifold here. I think I talked about it briefly or showed you a picture. Right here. See that black? Apparently I have some kind of a leak right here, so this is what my issue is. So I don't think they had this tightened down all the way, and the gasket looks okay. So just so you know, if you have a problem, you might want to check that. Alright, so I'm happy. Let's go ahead and finish this up, bolt this down. Alright, things are going back slowly together, and before you put all your wires and your injector wires, I'll make sure you put your cover back on if you take it off like I did, but like I said, you don't have to on that timing gear down here. It's all back in. I did have a little trouble with one of these bolts on the pan. Start them all with your fingers and make sure they're going straight first, then you can tighten them down. And all we got to do now is go ahead and pop this one off here, get that off, put it on, and really go ahead and put the intake back on. I've already got some of the other stuff here hooked up, so it went fairly well. Looks like the job wasn't too bad after all. Like I said, it's just getting those covers off, those gaskets off those covers. They're on there like cement. So let's go ahead and get this one ready. And also, when you put these plug wires back in, there's some kind of sticky glue on them. I don't know, but I had to actually put some like WD-40, make them nice and slippery, then push them down so they'll seal on here. And as you can see, the first one here that I was trying to take off, you can see right there. Oh, there's some kind of sticky stuff, so I'm not sure what's on there. So when you put these back in, you really got to push because that's got to go down in there and seal over this here. Alright, so let's go ahead and now do the front one. Alright, so this one's ready to rock and roll. We got the bolts out. I'm not sure what's going on here. There seems to be a cover, but I'm not sure if it's part of that or what it is. So we'll play around here and see if we can somehow get it loose. Alright, is that? Oh, great. Okay, good. I was worried about there's some bolts up there on that end there, but that's alright. And there's that one, and yeah, it's been leaking too. Boy, the engine's nice and clean, though. That's great. And you can see, just look at that gasket, how hard it is. Gee, I'm going to have to heat this up with the torch all the way around with my propane torch. When it cools down, it should contract enough where I can actually get that out of there. But yeah, there's that one. Get these out of here. Of course, these are hard as a rock. Say goodbye and hello to the new. Alright, unbelievable how these things are in there. So what I do, I took a small screwdriver like this, and be careful, don't let it slip and gouge you. This is pretty small, a little straight screwdriver. And after I heated these up, I kind of got in here like this and just kind of worked this screwdriver like this underneath of it until I got it up. And it came out in sections. So the general idea there. So now we've got it all cleaned up. Now let's go ahead and stick it on. Alright, it's on. That was pretty easy to do on that one there. Got all the bolts torqued down. And then we'll go back here and retorque these just a little bit more before we put everything together. And when we come back here, hopefully you'll see this thing running. And we'll complete this job. Alright, it's finished. It's running, and it actually runs better because that piece in the back you saw here earlier, right there, EGR, apparently that was the problem because my check engine light's off now. The code has not come back on and the car idles much better, so That back there was my gross leak, was the PO455, I believe. That's what I said earlier. Emissions code. But other than that, man, she's purring. Quiet. I haven't seen any leaks anywhere. Everything in the back looks good. And I even got a brand new belt on. This is actually a follow-up from my last video. I said I was going to put a new belt on it because the other one was pretty bad shape, but I replaced the pulley also over here on this side. Alright guys, so that's it. It looks like we are done, and thanks for watching. You know, a lot of folks are fixing up these older cars right now just to get by, so maybe you're one of them, and if you have one of these engines, a 2.5, maybe this will help you out. So, until my next video guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.